80,000 fatalities in Burma today after Cyclone Nargis.
Drought emergency across Western Europe, with drinking water strictly rationed in Holland, France.
Forest fires, which are still sweeping across Spain.
£30 billion, a price worth paying for motorists' right to drive, said Lord Clarkson of Silver.
Good news for the UK wine industry, especially...
The latest is that New Orleans will not be rebuilt a third time, said the Louisiana
less
governor.
than the total destruction of India's dams would end Pakistan's drinking water crisis.
As US President Chelsea Clinton refuses Africa's demand.
Exponential sales of air conditioning units in India.
Thousands as San Francisco's extraordinary heat wave continues into Los Angeles.
Now we're seeing extreme weather events somewhere on the planet every single day.
Estimated 35 million Chinese refugees.
Skiing in the Alps is over.
The new Channel 4 documentary asks, is global warming really happening, or are natural...
It's 61 degrees centigrade, the highest land temperature.
More than 100 million people are homeless tonight as
massive
Bangladesh...
methane emissions from Siberia.
The last Indonesian tree fell, but biofuel prices are...
The European Union today permanently closed all of its borders.
And roadside verges must be reserved for food production.
London is underwater again as last night's 30-foot storm surge overcame the Thames barrier.
New Zealand has also now closed its borders, leaving 22 million Australians.
Reports are coming in that the North Sea is boiling.
100 million refugees from Middle East and continental Europe are all heading north.
Species are now extinct, scientists estimate, and ecosystems are collapsing across the planet.
We have passed 2 degrees. We cannot now stop runaway climate change.
There are simply too many people to feed in Ireland's remaining farmland.
Suicide rates increasing 800%.
The Amazon rainforest is still burning.
And anyone who cannot bear to eat their own cats and dogs.
Entering the 8th world food crisis.
World temperatures today passing 4 degrees.
Pakistan has launched retaliatory nuclear strike on Delhi.
A war of biblical ferocity across the entire continent.
Is before Katrina struck. Most people are following the evacuation order and getting out of the city. But New Orleans-born Albin Duvernay had no intention of moving.
I got up Saturday morning and there was a buzz in the neighborhood. Everybody's running around and I was like, what's up, you know, hurricane's coming. I checked on the web and sure enough, all of the models had it aiming right for us, bullseye. This is a monster and it's coming. Walked through the house a few times, putting things up. You know, my silk rug from Nepal up on a top shelf and my guitar, and you know, you just do these things, you know. I mean, another way to do that is get all your stuff and go. That's option 1, probably the best option. I didn't grow up in that option.
Alvin collected his 84-year-old father and then barricaded the two of them inside his house as the hurricane approached.
You stare Mother Nature in the eye. Usually she's fairly benign. Then she comes along methodically, ruthlessly, you know, and then she stands toe-to-toe with you and dares you. Dares you. Go ahead, get your best equipment out. Go ahead, do it. Let's dance.
I think one's got to be very careful about attaching a particular event to global warming. But nevertheless, the intensity of hurricanes is related to surface sea temperature. So increased intensity of hurricanes is associated with global warming.
By first light, the water in Alvin's house was chest deep and still rising. So he helped Alvin Sr. into their boat and headed for dry land.
And at this point, the boat's floating. So it's no big deal to launch the boat. It's launched. There's no landmarks, really, to speak of. That's a real different perspective, driving through your neighborhood at tree level. Then, all of a sudden, you realize there's a lot of people who stayed behind. There was no Coast Guard or police, or most of our National Guard was elsewhere in the world. Iraq, Afghanistan.
Alvin rescued over 100 people and their pets over 2 long days, including a 95-year-old man and a 6-week-old baby.
When that little basket came out of the window, that was a pretty special time. And just this peaceful, eyes closed. I mean, it just stops you in your tracks. Just dead stop and just take a breath, you know. There's nothing more impressive than that.
Alvin's neighbors were the lucky ones. Hurricane Katrina was America's worst weather-related event to that date, but it was just a taste of what was to come.